Today's topic is AI for diagnosis and healthcare, and we have our special guest, Dr. Akash. Please tell us a little bit about you and your expertise.
Sure, absolutely. And first of all, Priya, thank you so much for inviting me. And I'm super excited to talk more about AI for diagnosis and healthcare on today's episode. Just to start, quick background, I'm Akash. Right now, I lead the AI division in a biotech company called HistoWiz in New York. PhD by training, I specialized in building explainable AI for clinicians for breast cancer diagnosis. So we hear a lot about AI nowadays, but I think very few people talk about what it means to get trust in those AI systems, especially for doctors, wherein patients' life are at stake. So my entire PhD research was in building those AI solutions for breast pathologists, and right now I lead the AI division. And yeah, outside work, I love talking about it. On different forums and super excited to be on your podcast today.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that you were able to join, and I'm really excited to be your host for the podcast.
Amazing.
And yeah, let me ask you a few questions, and that way we can spread a little bit awareness about it. And
Sure.
this is celebration of Women's History Month, and I want to make sure that we kind of spread awareness about breast cancer diagnosis and how AI helps to improve the diagnostic tests and pathology.
Absolutely. Sounds good.
Okay. So, what is AI based pathology and why is it important in cancer diagnosis?
Sure. Cancer diagnosis is not straightforward, and that's why like hospitals and pharma companies all over the world is pouring in like billions and billions of dollars for diagnosis and treatment. And like especially when it comes to like breast cancer, when it's like early stage, there is a lot of ambiguity and confusion to what stage of cancer it is, and especially when you're looking at a tissue image under a microscope, and that's when you do the diagnosis of cancer. There is so much happening within the image that many a times the doctors sort of miss some of the very important features, which leads to misdiagnosis. And especially for early stages of breast cancer, like there is a research paper out there which says that the rate of disagreement is close to 50% for early stages of breast cancer. So what that means is that one doctor does not agree with another doctor for the diagnosis, which has a direct impact on the treatment. So how AI helps here is it sort of like it's an assistive tool that basically helps you find those important regions within the breast tissue, so that there is less misdiagnosis that happens, and better and more accurate diagnosis and treatment. So AI based diagnosis, like what I built during my PhD and what I work on, is sort of bridging the gap of like this disagreement and also improving the accuracy of like cancer diagnosis. Because when you go to a physician's clinic, they order a biopsy for you. You hope that whatever diagnosis that comes out is actually true, and but then the nature of this disease is so complicated, wherein there's a lot of confusion and ambiguity, and that's where AI can tremendously help. And I'm sure we will cover more facts to this field as we take more questions.
Okay. Yes, for sure. So, how does AI improve the speed of cancer diagnosis?
Yeah, so I think before sort of talking about AI for the speed of cancer, so to our like listeners here, again, when you go to a physician's clinic and they order a biopsy for you to diagnose cancer or other disease as well, like even tuberculosis requires tissue biopsy to be done to diagnose. So they take like a small section of your tissue of that particular organ, they process it in the lab, and they put it on a physical glass slide, which then the doctor look at it under the microscope. So digital pathology, the field that I am in right now. So what we do is we take one step forward and we digitize the entire physical glass slide, and which allows to be viewed on Instead of microscopes, now the doctors can see it on computer screens and allows using AI. So for cancer diagnosis, if you have to print out an entire tissue using a large printer, the size of one tissue occupies like 2 to 3 tennis court. So that is the volume of the image what we're talking about. It's not like, like a 1K by 1K image that we take. It's a huge image. So where AI plays a good role is it can very quickly sort of point out like which regions are most important for diagnosis so that those regions are not missed, which leads to improved accuracy. So that's where AI helps tremendously, and also not just that, it also allows you to identify those features very easily before doing the diagnosis. So
Okay. Now, does AI replace doctors in diagnosing cancer?
absolutely not. I think we are very far from having that kind of a world wherein AI can replace like doctors and from different streams. Uh, and since I'm in this field, from close to 9 to 10 years now, we are nowhere close of doing that. And as much as we are no way closer to replacing drivers in driving a car, like similarly, because like for example driverless car was always a concept from like over like 10 20 years now, and we are nowhere close to replacing drivers to let them take over the roads. When it comes to medicine, the implications are much stronger, wherein AI is just a tool, as an assistive tool basically, to help you improve your workflow, compare clinical notes. Where AI is helping right now is it is able to search a patient like 10 years back who had come to the clinic for cancer diagnosis and compare the clinical notes very rapidly. So before that, it used to take a lot of time to go to the hospital, look for the patient data and all that. So AI is helping in that sense, wherein, you can compare clinical notes, you can compare case history and all that. But if we are talking about replacing them entirely, no, absolutely not.
Okay. Now, how accurate is AI when diagnosing cancer?
So I think cancer diagnosis itself has it's a multifaceted problem because there are different stages of cancer. Like even breast cancer that I was working on, it has like I think close to 40 to 50 different classes, which are grouped together, and that leads to different treatment options. Whereas, like if it's benign, for example, like the woman can go back home safely and happily, there is no sort of like a surgery or drug involvement. If it is like low risk, then there is some sort of like a drug that has to be taken so that it doesn't spread to other parts and other organs. And if there are other more severe stages, like sometimes like surgery is required or a chemotherapy and immunotherapy is required. So when we talk about AI for diagnosing cancer, again, we're talking about AI to improve the speed to detect like regions within the image. Uh, the final diagnosis is always done by the pathologist, which is which is the clinician. I'm sure if somebody builds AI for direct cancer diagnosis, FDA will not approve it. Like we are companies have tried doing it to trying to get an FDA approval for cancer diagnosis. It's not going to happen. So what companies are right now doing is, okay, can I detect a small AI tool to sort of find these mini regions within the image? For example, at HistoWiz, we work with L'Oreal Paris, which is like a cosmetic company, and they are one of our like very big clients at HistoWiz. So we do like a skin tissue imaging for them before they get a product into the market. So what they want to see is that before the application of the product and after the application, how has the skin tissue changed? How has the dermis and epidermis layers changed? So AI can do that. So AI can detect like dermis regions, epidermis regions, inflammation regions within the skin tissue. So it's able to do that. But when we talk about entire cancer diagnosis, I think we're very, very far away. So.
Okay. And what other benefits does AI bring to healthcare diagnostics?
I think there are multiple reasons. Like one very strong reason is what I call is like patient triaging. So comparing clinical notes, clinical history. Like for example, it could be for cancer, it could be for healthcare, it could be for physical therapy as well. Like for example, if a patient comes in with some problem, you want to have a record of that patient for couple months, couple years. Say I had this patient come in like 2 years back with a severe neck injury. So we gave them this particular treatment. And if he or she comes back like 2 years down the line, you want to compare the clinical notes, not just of the physical therapy, what other diseases did this person have? Did they have any gut issue? Did they have any heart attack? So AI is sort of tremendously helping to sort of consolidate all that information in one place so that specialized doctor of any domain can quickly look it up and suggest like other treatment options. So that is one big sort of impact that AI is doing, which is gathering the information together and getting insights more quickly. And I think the second impact is definitely uh, getting more knowledge from all over the world. Like, for example, when we talk about physical therapy, right? Like, okay, can you sort of for the same condition, like, are there research publications published anywhere in the world where they have suggested like treatment options? So AI can quickly pull that information for you. It could be for this domain, it could be for even cancer research. So getting that information is very easy with respect to how these chat GPTs, Geminis, and Claude is able to do that. That's like super sort of interesting. And when we talk about like the nitty gritty, yes, AI is also sort of improving the speed for drug discovery. Like, uh, I think it costs close to $1 billion to get a drug into the market. And many a times, this sort of slowness is because they want to do like the preclinical research on animals and then humans and all that. So AI is trying to improve the work, the speed to get the most accurate drug into the market much quickly. But these are just like few highlights, but I think AI is making its way into every single stream. So,
So, can AI help detect cancer earlier?
absolutely, and but I still feel like humans do a better job in detecting cancer than AI. I'm very sure that we're very far away from detecting cancer. I think we're at least, I don't know, 25 to 30 years away before AI can do that, especially for cancer, because since I'm in this domain, it's so complicated. But having said that, AI can definitely pick out some sort of like subtle information within this tissue, or it could also be your habits, your physical, exercise patterns, your diet regimes, and it AI can help you put in that risk category. Say you have a certain sort of like a diet that you follow, you have this physical fitness pattern. AI can sort of give you like, hey, look, you should get your diet back on track. You should get your sleep cycle back on track. Otherwise, there is this possibility that you might get cancer in the next few years. So AI can do that, but having said that, when we talk about direct cancer, I think humans are doing much better job, which they have been doing for over 100 years now. Uh, and AI is far to do that.
Okay. Are there challenges or concerns with AI in healthcare?
One thing that I see right now is the trust factor. How much can like a patient or a doctor trust in AI? For example, if you are going to a hospital in LA or New York, like, will you go to a hospital where the doctors are using AI to diagnose you, or will you go to a hospital where there is no AI but just the human expertise? So I think that's one thing from a patient side. Even from a doctor side, how much trust can you put in AI? So it's very important to have these guardrails put in place. So, for example, I'm attending the inaugural Women's Health Conference in Washington D.C. Next week, where there is director of NIH, ARPA, and the breast cancer symbol, group that's coming in all in one place. This is happening like March 11th to 13th in Washington D.C. This is by Department of Health and Human Services, and I'm again fortunate to attend that. So where the discussions are centered around how do we sort of like regulate AI for women's health or for general health care. So, and again, I'm more than happy to like talk about like what I learned from the conference in Washington D.C. But I think putting guardrails to AI is so important that improves trust from both the sides. And then we also want to know what data was the AI trained on. Like, for example, was it only trained on white Americans? Or was it trained on like Asian, patients, Caucasian, Latin America, African, so if it was not, if it did not use that data, that means like the other patients cannot sort of get diagnosed with that AI. So diversity of data also matters a lot. For example, the AI that was built in US, like could we use the same AI on the Indian population? Absolutely not. So and not just that, like for example, uh, the US AI companies, they don't sort of use the Indian clinicians, Indian doctors to do the data annotations because the training is different, the medical training is different, the way we diagnose patients are different. So I think these things have to be thought through. And people are now starting to think about that, like putting guardrails, putting regulatory frameworks around AI, and even the Senate and the Capitol is thinking about that right now. So,
Okay. What does the future look like for AI in cancer diagnosis?
uh, I, I think one thing is just to like tell the audience here, like the number of cancer, patients are increasing year over year, and contrary, the number of pathologists are decreasing. And that means the world is going to face a shortage of pathologists in US, in India, in Europe, like all over the world. And the number of cancer patients are going to increase just because of the lifestyle changes and all that. So AI is definitely going to improve the speed with which a doctor can diagnose cancer more accurately. Absolutely. So, and the first step towards that is digitizing the physical slide. Like, for example, like 15, 20 years back, there were these cassettes and DVDs, and there was no other way to listen to songs or watch movies without having those like physical cassette. And where we had a Walkman, we had a DVD player and all that. But now we live in a world where nobody uses cassettes and DVDs. It's all digital. We have Netflix, Amazon Prime, and all that. Like similarly, like we are going through a transition phase in field of like cancer, wherein uh, doctors are still using physical slides under the microscope, but the field is moving so fast that maybe like in the next decade or so, I think microscopes will be replaced by these digital images, and AI will play a role in improving the speed and the workflows for ensuring that there is less disagreement between the doctors in diagnosis, and that gets to the patient as well for the treatment.
Okay. All right. Well, that was wonderful. And if you would like to state any challenges or concerns with AI in healthcare, you can, spread awareness and yes, just kind of, talk a little bit about it. But I think today we had a good conversation, and I would like you to just, end this podcast with whatever that you would like to share to our audience.
Uh, Absolutely. And again, thank you so much, Priyal. And I think one thing I would like to say is uh, the world that we're living in right now is like it's moving so fast, where AI is coming into play for literally everything, to managing the meetings, to events, to scheduling calls, to research that we spoke about today. And I would say I'm sure AI is sort of like impacting you directly or indirectly in your everyday life. And I think podcasts like this sort of makes people more AI aware, I call it. and it's a easy way to sort of see how it's impacting different fields. And one very important field is women's healthcare and cancer diagnosis. And I think having such a like a informal conversation, like talking about it, is well receptive to the broader audience. And again, if anybody has any questions or want to collaborate, or like just want to know how the AI is sort of like shaping the field of healthcare, you can reach out to me directly.
Okay. Well, that was wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining, and I hope everyone enjoys this podcast and find it insightful. But I'm sure we will talk again, and
Absolutely.
look forward to working together with you on this, podcast and spread the awareness
Amazing.
on important topics that matters.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Priya. It was a pleasure being here.
Of course, of course. Thank
Yeah,
you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule, and I
cool.
really appreciate your time and
Yeah.
your
Thank
knowledge.
you. Thank you, Priya. Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome. Bye bye.
See you. Bye.